I would like to present recent experimental results concerning converging strong shock wave generated by underwater electrical explosion of a wire array, not matter cylindrical or spherical. So first of all, it's underwater electrical explosion, and I need to explain why we use the water as a medium. Water prevented the plasma formation on the surface of the wire compared to the case of the vacuum, of the explosion in a vacuum, due to high value breakdown voltage in the water. The second one is the energy deposition to the wire, because the water limits the expansion of the radius of the wire. You can increase the energy density deposition to the wire up to 90%. And finally, in previous experiments, we showed that efficiency of the energy transfer to the water flow is up to 24%. By efficiency, I mean the energy of the shock wave divided by stored energy at the capacitors. Cylindrical and spherical wire array. Here is self-similarity law. In case you know initial energy of the shock wave and the radius for this initial energy, also the shock wave propagates independently. I mean, the power source is not affected the shock wave propagation. You can calculate the pressure at any specific radius. Here you see two pictures of a cylindrical wire array explosions, experimental pictures. And you can see that larger the density of the wires will bring single converging strong shock wave much faster. Due to this, you can have accumulation of the energy at the region of the symmetry. Here is the spherical wire array and cylindrical wire array. We use two generators to explode these wire arrays. First one in sub-microsecond time scale, and the second in microsecond time scale. You can see the parameters here, but the interesting thing that for spherical wire array, the microsecond time scale generator provide us with almost same time of flight of the shock wave. In other words, it's almost same hydrodynamic parameters at the vicinity of the origin. We use two techniques to measure the time of flight of the shock wave propagation. First of one, making use of optical fiber placed at the equatorial plane. Once the shock wave implodes, the fiber emits, and you can detect it with detector, PMT. The second one, making use of self-light emission from a water, and both techniques gave us almost same time of flights. Here you can see the time of flights and typical waveform of self-light emission from a water. Here you can see the emission of the hot wires, and then self-light emission from a water. For different diameters, you see here the green lines. So, using this time of flights, measured density, energy deposition to the wires, you can prepare one-dimensional hydrodynamic simulation with assumed symmetry and calculate parameters, hydrodynamic parameters of the water at the vicinity of the implosion. but it assumes symmetry, and we are not actually know what is the symmetry of the spherically converging strong shock wave. So we try to do some calculations of energy at the experimental calculations. We saw that optical fiber placed at the equatorial place always damaged only at the center. So we placed different materials. The interesting one is the cuprum tube, which was 1 millimeter diameter. It imploded, and then it exploded outside. We can explain it by by the shock wave propagated in the tube, evaporate partially at the inner boundary of the tube, evaporate partially the cuprum, and then the tube, by imploding to this factor, which is experimentally measured, generate inside pressure larger than outside, so we see an explosion. The next step was to guide a CW laser inside the optical fiber and measure its intensity, time-dependent intensity, with photodiode. Here you can see the typical signal. This peak is the self-light emission, and the plateau here is the laser. You see a plateau because there is no shock wave. Here in the black is the current, so explosion occurs here. Then you see decreasing at the transparency of the fiber, and using the transparency factor or attenuation factor, you can estimate the peak in terms of milliwatt. On the other hand, we placed spectrometer coupled with 4-quick camera and acquired spectrum of this self-light emission. This spectrum fitted very well with blackbody radiation with temperature of 3300 Kelvin. Using both results, you can estimate the surface needed to emit that amount of energy. And in the case the surface is spherical, the radius is 60 microns. For comparison, in one-dimensional hydrodynamic simulation, which assumes spherical symmetry, we got 100 microns, and I have to note that one-dimensional hydrodynamic simulation don't count the partial reflection from the fiber. So the radius will be smaller. Finally, we placed carbon resistor at the center of the spherical wire array. The phenomenon of the carbon resistor, when you apply pressure to carbon resistor, it decreases its resistance. Here you can see the experimental current through the resistor in red and the calibration current with black. Here you can see the experimental resistance and simulated resistance. By simulated resistance, I mean we used pressure values of the one-dimensional simulation. Using this formula, we calculated the resistance. It fitted very well until 70 nanoseconds prior to the shockwave implosion, which in terms of radius is 0.44 millimeter. To conclude, using spherical wire array explosion to generate spherical converging strong shock wave, one can generate up to 60 megabar at the vicinity of the implosion. Also, spherically converging strong shock wave keeps its uniformity up to 0.4 millimeter, and due to the self-magnetic pressure of the discharge current, smaller energy can provide us with almost same hydrodynamic parameters at the vicinity of the implosion.
Thank you very much for the talk and for keeping the time. And we have time for some questions. Yes, please, Itzik.
The duration of your energy input is 1 microsecond.
For which generator?
For the slowest one.
For the slowest one, 2 microns.
2 microseconds. And how much is the duration of the motion of the shock wave inward until stagnation?
You mean until the implosion?
What do you mean? I mean, when you converge on axis, it is more than 2 microseconds, right?
It's different for radius, but for typical radius of 15 millimeters, it's something about 6 microseconds.
Okay, so it means that you have a reduction of the pressure outside.
Yeah.
And this does not lower your pressure on the axis. So why are you taking such a long time of implosion? Why are you not starting from smaller diameter so that you will not...
It technically have problems, not physical.
Yeah,
Technical
technical problem.
problems.
Okay. And can I ask how much?
Yes, you can.
Now, in the self-emission, you also see the 100 micron?
What do you mean by self-emission?
Self-emission from the water. You are also in agreement with the 100 micron that you see from the fiber.
Here is the self-light emission from water in blue. This is in blue for...
114. 114. Okay. Fine. So it's an agreement.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
If I'm not mistaken, you achieved here 60 megabar. If I'm not mistaken, it's an order of magnitude higher that was achieved before with the shorter pulse.
It's also the same.
It's the same?
It's the same, but with lower energy. Stored energy at the generator.
The pressure, such pressure level were achieved also with the shorter pulse? Okay, thank you.
Okay, this concludes this session. Let's thank the speaker and all the other speakers.